So I'm joined now by Manchester United correspondent for The Athletic, Laurie Whitwell, to talk about the emerging news story at Manchester United that the club are up for sale or are being put up for sale by the Glazers. So the first question, Laurie, I have for you is why are the Glazers selling?
I think there's a number of factors, possibly most prescient being the Super League and the fact that they tried to make revenue guaranteed for clubs that were in the Super League. That failed. So therefore, and they're saying they're not going to go and try that again anytime soon, although there's whispers, but it seems like that one's been parked. So they might look at it and go, this is the most the club is going to be worth for a long time. So there's six Glazer siblings. Joel and Avram are the two kind of more engaged ones, and then there's four that I think are pretty much very happy to sell right now. I think they've been that way for a while. Joel and Avram have, I think, tried to keep it in the family a little bit more, but they, I think, are now recognising that this is a good time to cash in, and they'll make a lot of money, a lot of profit from what they originally invested if they do actually agree to a takeover. And then the sort of secondary factor to that is this attempt to renovate the stadium or build a new stadium, which is one of the promises that they made out of the Super League collapse. They've looked at that. It's going to cost an awful lot of money. They have never put in their own money. They're already in profit for what they bought the club for in terms of the sales, and then obviously leverage the rest of the money onto the club in debt that's been there the whole time. So how do they get a new stadium? They're not going to put their hands in their own pockets. So can they add more debt onto the club? I think that would be met with fierce resistance by fans, and I wonder if the banks would even allow that anyway. It might be seen
Could
as
be
too
quite
much
dangerous,
debt.
couldn't it, at this point?
Yeah,
No, I mean, there's still a lot of debt on the club.
yeah, exactly. So I think, I mean, they lost money, clearly at the last set of annual accounts, over £100 million. So it's not a business that is, abundant with cash revenues. So then the other alternative is I suppose naming rights for a stadium. That they can't do that. Again, that would be met with fan resistance. So the final thing is equity. Sell some of the club in return for a percentage, and that seems to be the way they're going down. And I wonder if the idea is that they have been trying to do this for a while, and now they've made it public. Have they had the interest that they wanted previously to this point? No, would be the guess, and therefore they're having to make it public and add in the word sale that they have done in that statement, to kind of really, I guess, enhance people's interest.
Mm. So it's Manchester United is a publicly limited company, right? So
Yeah.
how much is it worth, and how much, I guess, technically would they want to sell it for?
Yeah, it fluctuates obviously depending on the share price in terms of what you'd actually value it based on the New York Stock Exchange. But it usually hovers around the $2.5 billion mark, which is a significant sum of money. But the Glazers would obviously want a lot more than that to actually hand over the reins. They see this as a prized asset amongst football clubs, sporting institutions generally. I mean, even businesses. It's such a huge money-making business at its best that they would value it at a significant sum of money. I don't know the exact number that they would be looking for, but clearly you have heard rumours of sort of 5 billion, 6 billion. I think Sir Jim Ratcliffe had talks with them and spoke publicly about the fact that they wanted too much money for it, and that's why he's looked elsewhere. He's concentrating on Nice, his Ligue 1 club that he's got. I don't know if he would be someone that would have a look now they've made it public. But yeah, they'd be looking for a lot of money, way more than what the club is actually valued on paper.
Mm. So who do you think would buy? I mean, you mentioned Jim Ratcliffe there as an option. We're obviously heading towards maybe the end of a kind of epoch where there are, state funds that purchase football clubs. Who could afford this?
Yeah, it's a shrinking number, isn't it? Now that Saudi Arabia have gone to Newcastle, which, I mean, I think that's another complicated one. I think if they were in the market for Manchester United, which they have been previously, they had talks over a minority stake. I think the Glazers were only looking to give up about 20%, to which the Saudis were saying, well, no, because that doesn't give us any decision-making power. And I think that's been the issue prior to this point as well now, which is, again, why they've had to include this idea of an actual full takeover. Yeah, I mean, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, even on his own, I know Britain's richest man, but he probably would need some support to actually buy a club of this scale. And then you look at, I guess, the US market. The Glazers obviously have, relations over there with different banks. I don't know, would something come out of that area? Chelsea gives us a good indication of the kind of people that would look to buy a club. So I would imagine that all those guys again would have a look at Manchester United. But yeah, I mean, is there another UAE another UAE element possible? Dubai, for example. I don't know. I personally have trouble accepting that United could ever be owned by a state fund, because I think that moves football into a different realm, and I think a lot of United fans would have serious problems with that. And so that's why I must have released a statement, the United Supporters Trust, today, talking about who could own Manchester United in future, and wanting scrutiny to be applied at every level, and to have open dialogue about it, so that it's not suddenly in the hands of somebody that the fans don't want and could cause real issues.
Yeah, I mean, that brings me to my final question, was going to be, is this a good thing for Manchester United? I suppose that depends on how you define Manchester United. If we're talking about the fans, then on the one hand, of course, it seems like it would be a good thing. The fans and the Glazers have never had a promising relationship, but with there being a coming vacuum, and without there being any real idea of who would fill that, I think that would be potentially concerning. And also, from a financial perspective, you would assume that if the Glazers have decided that now is the time to sell, that they at least are looking at the situation with the club and the cost of rebuilding or updating the stadium, and balancing that off against what the potential rises in valuation might be over the next 5 to 10 years, and thinking it's not worth it. So I think there's a couple of different areas that fans might be concerned about. But do you think overall it's a good thing?
I think overall fans will be popping champagne. I mean, there was actually fireworks going off at Old Trafford last night when this news emerged, and because it's been such a toxic and contested ownership for so long, the fans have never accepted it. Why would you accept owners placing a load of debt on your club that was previously debt free? I mean, it's cost United over £1 billion, probably even £1.5 billion for the privilege of having the Glazers as owners. Imagine what that money could have done. I mean, you'd have 2 new stadiums for that price, really, if that money had just been kept in United. So, no one will be wishing them well, on their voyage onwards. I mean, they will come out of this with huge profits, and that is pretty distasteful, I think, for a lot of fans. But that being said, as you've alluded to, there's jeopardy here, because when there's an opportunity and it's a business, that attracts all sorts of people, and people that won't have the sporting merits of the club at heart, quite possibly. So yeah, I mean, it's uncertain times, and whilst I think the initial reaction from United fans will be absolute jubilation that this could be coming to an end. The idea that the next person along will be better needs to be tested at every possible juncture.
If you liked today's video, please consider subscribing to the channel. And if you did like it, you might be interested in How to Watch Football, Tifo's illustrated book. It's 52 rules for understanding the beautiful game on and off the pitch, and it is the perfect holiday gift. How to Watch Football is out now in stores and online. See the link in the description to find out more, and thank you for watching today's video.